In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern. We do still have Tropical Storm Debbie kind of reaching into the mid-Atlantic, into the Northeast states throughout this upcoming week and early next week. This should still bring about some flooding concerns, and it's also going to give way to some very, very cold air compared to what is typical. Today, we'll be taking a look at our normal temperature anomalies that we always take a look at, but also the long-range temperature anomalies, even diving into a little bit of September, where things do look a little bit cooler than normal. So we're going to really dive into all of these things. We also have another tropical concern on the way. It's coming off of Africa right now as we speak, and it could pose a threat to the East Coast. So we're going to be really diving into all of these topics. Let's just take a look at things, and as you can see, we see Debbie still impacting areas throughout the Carolinas. That is going to be a factor here for at least a little bit longer, of course. As you can see, I'm going to take us towards tomorrow afternoon. This will have moved up into the Northeast, New York in particular, as a little bit of a weaker low pressure system, but it's still there nevertheless. And we see heavier precipitation throughout still portions of the Southeast, into the mid-Atlantic, and even up into the Northeast, as well as the Southeast of Canada. So a very long-lived system, obviously, in a wide impacting system. It's taking up a very large area. We can tell currently by the jet stream pattern, without even looking at the temperature anomalies, that we are beginning to get a trough here, this Arctic blast moving down from Canada. This is coming from the Arctic regions, and it is blasting down. I saw a lot of comments like, why are you calling it an Arctic blast? Well, it's an Arctic air mass, and it's blasting. So you put the two words together, it's elementary school stuff. But it's an Arctic blast moving down from the Arctic region, blasting into the United States here, bringing about cooler than normal conditions here throughout portions of the plains, Midwest, Great Lakes, and Ohio Valley so far, and it will move further south and further eastward. Again, we're going to dive a little bit more into that later on the temperature anomalies. I do want to draw your attention here towards the west, like the Rockies and Four Corner states, where we do have showers and thunderstorms present here for Friday as well. So that's definitely going to be a factor also. By Saturday, Debbie has pretty much moved in and moved out. We see it's moved well offshore of eastern Canada. We do have a low pressure system south of the Hudson Bay, bringing about some showers and thunderstorms here to portions of Canada and the Great Lakes. But it's really a far cry from what it once was. As we are obviously dying down from the heart of the activity that we've just been seeing just before this point. We do see that for a lot of the Cascades and Rockies, as well as the Southern Plains. We do see some thunderstorms and showers amping up here for Saturday on August 10th. That's going to be something to really watch for. If I did say this, I apologize, but I feel like I have been saying July maybe instead of August. Maybe I haven't. I tend to do that when we're in the first half of a month. I'll just kind of get it mixed up with the one prior to it. I say those names so much, so I get so used to it. But throughout the Southeast as well, August 10th, we're going to be seeing some thunderstorms present out here, especially along the coastlines. Sunday, August 11th here, look at this. I mean, this typical summertime thunderstorm activity happening across the Southeast. This isn't really going to be the case much longer. This is probably the last month and a half that we're going to be seeing this. So really soak it in as we're going to move into the cold season for a long time. And it's going to be until next spring that we see much more of this activity. So, if you enjoy a peaceful thunderstorm, at least soak it in. They're not going to be happening too much longer. We do see that throughout the Rockies and Plains, we're having them as well. Their thunderstorm season will be done even sooner than the Southeast, so really hold on to it. The plain, or the better yet, the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, Northeast here, we are seeing some showers and thunderstorms here as well for that Sunday, August 11th time frame. Here's Monday, August 12th, and we see again the Rockies and Cascades, some thunderstorms, as well as the plains and Midwest, as well as the Southeast here, and even the Northeast. So we see just a couple of pockets here, seeing some thunderstorms and showers, all kind of separate here. But equally kind of impactful. Tuesday the 13th, we are seeing some activity offshore, which of course this time of year we're reaching towards the heart of the hurricane season. We are going to want to watch this very closely, as anything can really take off with the waters this warm, the dust dying down, and because of our La Nina that we have in place, we're seeing less and less trade winds. So definitely a really interesting situation out there for the overall Atlantic hurricane season, and we really need to watch anything as far as precipitation over water, basically. So definitely something to watch. Again, Plains and Rockies seeing more and more activity. Also up and down the eastern seaboard area, definitely still seeing activity there as well. Wednesday, the 14th, it has died down a little bit for the East Coast, but the Rockies and Plains, we're still seeing pockets of activity here. Want to move us forward towards Thursday on the 15th. And this is when we start to see some tropical disturbances. Keep in mind, this is a little bit further north than what the National Hurricane Center is showing it at. So this is definitely a little bit more of a northeast solution. We're going to see this really well offshore the East Coast, actually. But the National Hurricane Center's current forecast for it, which we will look at a little bit later on, does show a little bit more promise in terms of a possible kind of East Coast threat. So we'll be watching for that, of course. Throughout the Midwest here, we're seeing more and more thunderstorms. Moved away a little bit from the Rockies there. We do still see the Northeast being impacted by some showers and thunderstorms by this point. Friday, we see it moving a little bit closer to the East Coast, but again, this will be an out-to-sea solution more than anything. Thunderstorms now present throughout the Midwest, Ohio Valley, into bits of the Mid-Atlantic as well. And as we reach towards Saturday on August 17th, the big story here is that the East Coast is seeing a whole lot of precipitation, tons and tons of activity. And if you remember what happened out ahead of Debbie, it was very similar. We saw this kind of cold front come through, lots of activity around before that storm even hit, and it really sucked the storm in. The storm just really wanted to move in towards that activity as opposed to moving away from it. So low pressure is attracted to low pressure. Keep that in mind. High pressure obviously deters low pressure. They're like oil and water. So when you put water and water together, what happens if you put two water droplets on a table, for instance? You know, they want to move and combine. And that is exactly how we see these low pressure systems as well. So that is a factor. If we do see this move really quickly offshore, though, you can expect that storm to continue alongside it. So we're probably not going to get a full solution of what to expect here, but we do still see that activity along the East Coast by Sunday the 18th here, and we see a very strong low pressure system here north of the Bahamas, likely a hurricane by that point. Although this is very far out, so take it with a grain of salt. A lot more time to go, of course, and things can definitely change. But that is currently what this European model is showing. As far as our precipitation anomalies, this is going to be something that I want to show maybe from this point forward. I don't know why I never showed this. But let me know in the comments how you guys feel about the precipitation anomalies, us showing this. I mean, we've always kind of gone over the temperature anomalies. But precipitation, we've kind of just not done it, and I feel like it's a very useful tool just to show people where they can expect above or below average activity. Certainly for the rest of Debbie, that's what this is coming from, but I do suspect that after Debbie has moved out, we are expecting kind of overall below average activity along the East Coast. It's mostly the Rockies and Plains here where we see above average activity, as we just saw on the model run we just took a look at. Much drier throughout the South Central and deeper South states, though, and same story for the Midwest and Great Lakes. Just really dry compared to what's typical. Now, the overall temperature anomalies, again, this is the one we normally take a look at. We will also take a look at the long-range one, but we do see this cool down, this Arctic blast move down really quickly, and this is going to be especially potent for a lot of the plains and Midwest here. For the Sunday, the 11th time frame here, we also see some cooler air along the Northeast as well. This is going to bring about late September, early October, at least temperatures, I would say, is kind of what you can be in the ballpark of expecting. So a lot of folks, that's going to mean some 70s in there, definitely some 60s if you're very cold compared to other areas. So areas in our far north or along the Rockies, perhaps, that could bring about even below room temperatures. So very interesting stuff. As we keep going, this cold air wants to kind of stick around at least until mid to late week. This is Thursday. We still see some cooler air around. Keep in mind, this is an ensemble model, so this doesn't necessarily mean, you know, by the light blues that this is going to be less cold than it was before. They're just a little less confident on the back end of the location, so keep that in mind. We do see some cooling along the west, which is really indicative of warming in the east, so this should be kind of coming to an end here. This is kind of what you could expect to see over time, and we really do kind of see that pattern prevail here according to this European ensemble model. Here is the long range model, though, and here's for the next 5 or so days. So this is what we're going to be taking a look at from about today on August, well, this is counting towards August 8th all the way towards the 14th. Here is kind of the 15th to the 20th time frame, so we warm back up again. And we do see some cooler air along the east, but once we start into September, here's September 5th through 10th. Look at this. We move back into a very Arctic pattern here in the east where we have these Arctic blasts, these Arctic air masses moving down. This time of year, Arctic air masses aren't frigid. You got to keep that in mind. You know, it's not completely frigid in these Arctic air masses as it would be in January, February. We are seeing these temperatures that are moving from northern Canada down into the eastern states. They are losing some potency as they move down. They always do that. However, this should bring about some fall-like temperatures, like I mentioned, and we see it get even more potent there a little bit for the 10th, 15th time frame. So perhaps a colder September on the way. Definitely something to watch for. Even signs at this 17th to 22nd time frame being colder than normal as well. Definitely very cold compared to normal for a long period of time. Could spell a very cool September compared to what's typical. And Septembers go either way. You know, they could be a summer-like September or a fall-like September. And this looks very fall-like to me, at least. So exciting stuff for us cold and fall time lovers. Here's the overall tropical Atlantic. I just wanted to show you guys this, and I will refresh it just in case we got any updates. But we do see that tropical storm Debbie is now tropical depression Debbie, so I'm glad I updated it. So we have seen a downgrade there over North Carolina. Of course, still major flooding is expected regardless of if it's a tropical depression, tropical storm, or hurricane. Doesn't really matter as far as precipitation is concerned. The main thing that we're watching is this area here. Again, just has moved offshore of Africa over the past couple of days. It's in our MDR here between Africa and the Caribbean. And it is expected to perhaps develop in this area here, this orange hashed area over some of the Eastern Caribbean, perhaps near Jamaica, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and Haiti there, moving perhaps towards the Bahamas or Cuba. Again, the European model is well north of this, so the National Hurricane Center a little bit further south would pose more of a threat, especially to the Gulf, because the European threats, you know, almost poses zero threat. But the East Coast as well would be right in the crosshairs if this was perhaps the case. So something we're watching for. We do have a 0% chance over the next 48 hours. So this is a long range system, but a 40% chance as of now over the next 7 days. And really, we're leaning towards a pretty high chance of development once we get closer to this one. So we're going to be tracking it closely. Be sure to subscribe. We do upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.